My name is Thomas Brush. I'm the creator of a game called Pinstripe, released on Xbox, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. And we're about to do the same for my next game, which is called Once Upon a Coma. And I say we, that's me and my publisher, are about to launch in October. And we're really, really excited. So to celebrate, I want to tell you what I've learned in 10 years of making games. Well, it's really been about 12 years of making games. There's a lot of things that you can learn on Google and on YouTube, but there are some very crucial things that you just learn through experience. So I've tried to distill down this list of 5 things that I've learned just through experience and long year after year of grunt work, legwork, and trying to figure things out in the game industry. Before we get started, guys, I want to thank Skillshare. Skillshare, thank you so much for supporting this video and supporting this channel. Guys, Skillshare is an incredible sponsor, not only because they support this channel and allow me to make videos for you, but they also have some incredible content that is really closely aligned with what your goal probably is, and that is making games. So if you guys want to learn about game development, there is a link in the description, and you can get 2 free months of Skillshare. It's a great deal for a great company. And you can take a ton of courses, whether it's 2D animation, 2D design, 3D animation, 3D design, Unity, C#, sound design, marketing, business development. Whatever it is you need to learn for game development, it's probably on Skillshare. And hey guys, it's 2 free months. So give it a shot, see what happens. We're gonna talk about launch day confusion. The first one isn't really a thing, it's more of a topic, and that's just launch day confusion. There's so many things about launch day that are confusing, and we're going to cover 2 sides of the same coin, right? The first side is you overvalue launch day. Launch day is so important, and I get that. It's like the most important day of your life, but don't worry if it doesn't go according to plan, okay? If launch day flops, and I would never say that Pinstripe flopped on launch day, I would rather, maybe a better way of putting it is, it was hard to get the thing moving because I was competing with Little Nightmares, and so all the coverage was with these games. And so Pinstripe, we had a pretty good budget for Pinstripe, and I won't say what the budget was, but it was a decent amount of money put towards marketing Pinstripe. We put every bit of effort we could, including a PR agency, a publisher, and just a ton of connections on my part to get the game moving. And the thing is it didn't go exactly as I would have hoped, but it did okay. I was really kind of worried and a little bit frustrated and depressed and kind of hard to get out of bed when Pinstripe didn't perform as well as I had hoped on launch day. But what I learned after 2 years of seeing it perform is it's kind of about the long haul, guys. If your game continues to have sales and continues to pick up income throughout the years, you'll notice that you'll make $200,000, $300,000 in 2 years when your first week wasn't really that great. And the way this is done is just through sales and participating in Humble Bundles or Steam Daily Deals. So don't stress, don't freak out if launch day doesn't go according to plan. Now the other side of the coin is launch day is very important. The biggest spike in sales that you get is probably on launch day, and maybe some daily deal that you have. So launch day is really, really important. It's okay if it fails, but if it succeeds, your game goes through the atmosphere, past the moon, all the way to Pluto, right, in terms of game sales. And your game sales could provide for your studio for the next decade if you have a good launch day. Focus on launch day, think about launch day, prepare maybe 2 months worth of your time, prepare for launch day. But it's okay if it doesn't go according to plan. Number 2, don't overestimate the value of influencers, people like me, right? Don't overvalue how important they are in terms of your game sales. So right behind me, Mr. Jacksepticeye was kind enough to play my game Pinstripe. And this was at my request. I just emailed him and he said yes. That's amazing, right? I was so excited, and he actually did voice acting lines for the game. And it was the best day ever. And thank you so much, Mr. Jack, for playing Pinstripe. It really means a lot to me. You're a good friend. But let me just say this. In terms of game sales, I was expecting it to go like that, with that sound, straight into the atmosphere, right? In terms of game sales. And I remember telling my publisher, I said, this is it. we've done it. We finally arrived. And this was, I think, maybe a week after we had launched. So I was really nervous, 7 days, like we're not really getting a lot of traction. And then Jacksepticeye plays the game. I'm expecting, okay, we've got 5 million views on this thing. Surely we're going to get a jump in sales. Nope, we didn't get that much of a jump in sales. It kind of did this, like that. Barely, and then right back down. Don't overestimate the value of influencers. I've said this a lot on this channel. Don't pay influencers to play your game unless you're like Ubisoft, you know, or EA, and you have $100,000 to pay somebody to play your game. I don't really see the value. I haven't really seen huge spikes. Like, it's never 1-to-1, right? I don't know whether Jacksepticeye's video here maybe caused some other things to happen, because the game sales long term were pretty good for Pinstripe, but it wasn't 1-to-1. It wasn't immediate, and I don't really know the exact correlation between him playing the game and sales. And this is true across the board for Pinstripe. PewDiePie was really gracious. Thank you so much, Felix, for promoting Pinstripe as well. He actually did a story about it on Instagram. Overall, I think I had overvalued in my head what would happen. Weather keeps changing. The weather keeps changing. Number 3, don't try and be someone you're not, guys. How many of you in your head have this idea of what an indie game developer should be, or an entrepreneur? There's this idea of this trendy, like, cardigan wearing, smoking pot on the weekends, crazy haired, Ray-Ban wearing, Toms wear. What do trendy kids wear now? Toms? Was that my era? I don't know, but there's this idea of what you think you should be as a game developer and entrepreneur. Just do what you want. See, I tried so hard for like 5 to 6 years to be a certain type of person, and it just didn't really help at all. And what this does is, the most important problem here is that it translates from who you're going to be into what your game is going to be, because hopefully your game is part of you. Well, if you're trying to be someone you're not, your game is going to be something it's not supposed to be. Don't try and make the next Fortnite or the next Minecraft. Just make what you're excited about. And I know it sounds very cliche and overused, but I mean, honestly, what's the goal here? Think about the end. Like the end of your life. You're lying in your coffin, and let's pretend you can think while you're lying in your coffin. What are some things that you're happy you did? I can guarantee you're not going to be happy about making a game that sold a lot of copies, but it really wasn't what you wanted to make. So do what you love. Seriously, what are you excited about? And a good way to do this is right now, let's do a little exercise. Right now, close your eyes. Wait, no, keep watching this video and think about what is something that really makes you excited. For me, man, I can't get away from it. And it might pigeonhole me as a type of person. I love conspiracy theories. I love politics. I love violent video games. I really do, believe it or not. Even though I make trendy, weird games like this, I really love violent games. I love horror movies. I love dark content. That's just who I am. And believe it or not, guys, I kind of been lying. My games are super indie, super trendy, super artsy fartsy. I kind of like horror. So why am I not making horror games? That's really what I'm passionate about right now. So I really have to double check my motivations here. Who am I? What do I want to be? What's my identity? Well, at the very least, just make something you are excited about. So don't try and be someone you're not. It is so bright right now. That door looks like a gateway to the train station of Harry Potter's heaven. That's a bright door, and this is a bright shirt. I feel bright today. Number 4, simplification saves you money. Here's the thing about simplification. What I mean is, try your very best to get everything in your game that you want done without adding anything. Is it possible? See, the thing is that with Pinstripe, believe it or not, the game seems simple, but there's a lot of customization and content that wasn't necessarily needed in the game. See, the thing is, most indie game developers are probably going to eventually need to make a game for Steam, PS4, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch all at once. So, at the very beginning of your game, be thinking, What are some ways that I can simplify so that this is universally applicable to all platforms without worrying about all the idiosyncrasies of each platform? This is why it's so important to simplify at the beginning of your game's development. So I'm working on my third commercial game right now, and I'm actually making a 3D game, which I'm really excited about because I've never done before. I'm learning a lot. What I'm so tempted to do is make a 3D game that looks like all the AAA games. And a lot of indie game developers feel this way. Well, if I'm going to be successful, I need to make a game that looks hyper-realistic or, looks really cool and unique and has a lot of details. When in reality, if you're going to be an indie game developer, you need to be thinking about the lowest budget you can possibly use for your game. So my game right now, my 3D game, is hyper-simplistic. The thing is I want to start my games with a foundation of minimalism and simplicity. Now, if I want to get complicated later, that's great. In the future, a year down the road from now, I have no idea what the budget is going to be for my game that I'm working on. I don't know if I'm going to be working with a publisher or getting an advance from, an angel investor. I have no idea. But right now, I know what my budget is. I know how much time I have to make this game. And so I'm going to make it with that budget in mind. Most indie developers don't have a big budget in mind, so be sure that you simplify. There are a couple things about simplifying your game that I've learned over the past 10 years. And I'm actually going to implement this for my next game because I just don't want to live through this mistake ever again. And that is making your menus super complicated, having a ton of animations. So I did this in Once Upon a Coma, and I think it paid off in the end because it's a really beautiful menu system. But it was a real pain to put together, and it took a lot of time and a lot of the budget to put together this menu system. Don't try and make something way too complicated because you're afraid that you need something like that for your game to be successful. Rather, especially starting out, live on this foundation of simplicity. So with your menu, just have everything really simple and really clean. You can get away with a very simple menu system by having really good sound effects and good music. A great example of this is the Half-Life 2 menu. Don't get too complicated. Don't worry about animations with your menu systems and your UI. Another thing that you can do to simplify the process is just ensure that you're not putting a ton of texture and detail into your game. Indie game developers are notorious for putting way too much detail into their games at the beginning of the development cycle, and then towards the end, they can't finish the game because they've set a standard for themselves that isn't sustainable long term. Ensure that your graphics are simple and clean. Get that core game loop perfect. Basically, you're building a prototype that's super fun, looks decent, but it's not this hyper-realistic game to begin with. I need to stop biting my nails. The fifth and final thing that I've learned in the past decade of making games is cleanliness will save you some sanity. It used to be pretty messy. My office was pretty dirty. I used to have like 20 coffee mugs and they would just get mold in them and I just leave them on the desk. And then I got married and that wasn't allowed anymore. And I'm glad because my wife is kind of a clean freak and she knows that. And I'm grateful for it because it's made me so much more mentally clear. See, when your office looks a certain way, your brain has a habit of reflecting that, right? And the opposite is true as well. Whatever's going on in your head will reflect into your environment. So if your head is full of chaos, your office will become chaos. If your office is chaos, your head will become chaos. Why is this relevant to game development? Because when you're making a game, have any of you made a game in Unity? It's no matter how hard you try to be clean, it's always going to feel messy and always going to feel complicated and like a house of cards ready to collapse. It's really difficult to keep Unity clean, so at the very least, keep your office clean so that you can look away from your monitor and go, have a moment of zen, and then get back into Unity. This sounds silly, but this has really helped me in the long run. So I would challenge you to go ahead, pause this video right now, clean up your office or your room or your dorm, wherever you are, and ensure that everything has a zen feeling so that you can get back into your game. My dad used to tell me, Thomas, instead of buying a new car, just clean your old one. I don't know anything about cars, but he used to say, take care of your old car because it'll reduce the temptation to get a new car. The same is true for your game. Obviously, keep your game as clean as possible. Keep your office clean, and that will reduce the temptation to just jump on a new project, quit your project, and jump into the next one. Ultimately, guys, cleanliness not only saves your sanity, but it helps you finish your game. What'd you guys think of this video? Did you enjoy it? Did you like it? If you liked it, hit the subscribe button. Get yourself a life and subscribe. My name is Thomas Brush. Also, there's a way to support on Patreon. There's a lot of things that you can do on Patreon, but the main one is give me your money. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.